What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another top 10 video. Now, I said I was that in my last one that I was done with the top list of top 10, top 5 lists. But someone brought up, a top 5 or a top 10 or it's a top 5 that I didn't expect to do it. I was expecting to do it, but I decided not to go through with it because of the Homecoming movie coming out, and I'm like, okay, I made that one review. The reviews split pretty much. So I decided that sure, I'll do this video, and let's just get right into it. You know what we're here for. We're here for Spider-Man. So yes, these are the top 5 or my top 5 Spider-Man movies. And Homecoming will not be on this list because it's a new movie. Anyway, let's get into this with my number 5 Spider-Man movie being The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This movie, to me, when I first saw it, honestly, if you were to ask me what is the story, it would take me a little bit to think about because this one was kind of a mess to, piece together. I did like a few things in it. I think one of my favorite parts was at the end with the little kid dressed up as Spider-Man, and he's like in front of Rhino, and like that scene was just one of my favorite scenes, and it reminds me of me when I was a little kid. So that was one of my favorite scenes in this movie. Gwen Stacy, of course, does a great job in this movie. I did not like Norman Osborn in this movie. I think I've already said all that in my review, though, which you should find it somewhere if you are interested to see what my full thoughts on the movie is. But anyway, let's move on to my number 4, which is The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, the movie's pretty good, actually, and I was actually thinking about maybe moving it more up, but I decided not to because it was in a stage where some of my friends when I was in high school were not ready to move on from Tobey's version, because you gotta remember, when they first announced this movie, a lot of people were not excited for it, but when the movie did come out, it was very successful. The movie was pretty good, entertaining. My only problem was Peter Parker in general. I felt like Peter Parker was not correct, but his Spider-Man was good enough to make me like him, and that's why when The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was coming out, I was excited for it. Alright, so moving on to my number 3, which ironically is Spider-Man 3. Now, we all know, okay, listen, we all know not a lot of people like this movie, okay? I'm going to tell you a little story real quick. I was so in love with the first 2 Spider-Man movies. I was so in love with the way he performed in all those movies and the way Tobey did in all those movies that I was like, when Spider-Man 3 came out, when I was a little kid, you gotta remember, I was like 8 years old when this movie came out. I was so excited. I dyed my hair black. I know, it sounds pretty crazy. If you want, I'll tell you the full story, but it was a weird moment in my life where I was just so into the movie. I loved Spider-Man 3 as a little kid that, like, I was so into it that I talked so highly of it when I was a little kid, and my friends did too. But we were all little kids, remember that, so this is different times. Now, how do I look at the movie now? The movie, I still do like the movie. I will sit down and I will watch the movie, and I will still enjoy the movie. I don't have too much of an issue with the movie. Yes, there are parts in the movie that don't really make sense from the comics. That does irritate me a little bit. But because of the first 2 movies, it's not enough to make me hate the movie. So that's why I still consider it one of my favorites, even though a lot of people consider this one of their worst ones. Anyway, moving on to my number 2, which is Spider-Man 1. Now, I was going to put Spider-Man 2 here because I was trying to do this stupid order, but I decided that no, Spider-Man 2 is considered the best Spider-Man movie, and it is to me also one of the best Spider-Man movies, and it deserves that type of praise. It managed to hit a lot of points that the real Spider-Man does, and it hits and all that. But Spider-Man 1 was the beginning. It was the first time we got to see him on screen. It was the first movie to, save us from Batman and Robin. I'm pretty sure it was about, a decade or 2 decades that we haven't had a superhero movie back in that day. So when this movie came out, people were all on board with this movie, and not any complaints. So at least from what I've heard. But this movie is considered one of the best Spider-Man movies, arguably one of the best Spider-Man movies. I've had friends who've said, no, the first one's the best, no, the second one's the best, and they can go all day. But to me, I would tie this with the second movie, but because it's a top 5 list, I gotta give this one number 2. All right, so my number one Spider-Man movie, and I pretty much gave it away at this point, is Spider-Man 2. Now, when I think of Spider-Man 2, I think of awesome Spider-Man versus Doc Ock train scene. Like those are the things you think about when you remember Spider-Man 2. There were so many good moments in this movie. It just did a great job in this movie. It's just amazing. I think one of my favorite parts of the movie is the train scene. That's a lot of people's favorite parts. But I guess if I was to say another one of my favorite things is Tobey can be funny, like when he's Spider-Man. Like, I think one of the people said that one of his best lines as Spider-Man was in Spider-Man 2 when him and Doc Ock are at the bank, and then he webs up a bag full of coins that Doc Ock threw at him. He's like, here's your change, and he throws it back at him. So that was, he had good moments, and that's why, I still love these movies, and that's why I give Spider-Man 2 my number 1 pick. I think I gave this movie, a 10 out of 10 in my review. I don't really remember. I'd have to go back and watch it, but you guys should check that out if you guys are interested in my full opinions on these movies. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and I'm out of here. Up, and away. See you guys.